Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan. We got Chris Pronger coming up here in a few moments. Get his take on Game 3. Leafs Sens tonight, the Battle of Ontario. The Leafs are they're kind of walking into some uncharted territory here tonight. They have never had a team on the ropes like this, going into a Game 3 where you're up 2-0. And I feel like I can predict what I'm going to see out of Ottawa. That doesn't mean I predict they're going to win, but you have to believe they're going to come out flying tonight.
You think you can predict what you're going to see out of Ottawa, and also at the same time fascinated
to see what I'm going to get out of the Maple Leafs?
Exactly.
Yes, I can't predict what I'm going to see out of the Maple Leafs, but as much as we talked about it going into Game 2, that I thought how they played in Game 2 and the outcome of Game 2 would say more about them than what happened in Game 1.
Is there anything you could see tonight from the Maple Leafs where you would look and say maybe it is different?
Yeah, I think so. If they continue to play with the patience that I think they've shown at times, where like they seem to be picking up checks. Well, I look at that top line.
Remember what Ken Hitchcock told you, man.
Yeah, you have to check to win.
If you can't check, you're never going to win. It seems like such a stupid little cliche thing that a great coach just tossed out there, but it's so true.
Well, the Matthews and Marner conversation I find really telling in terms of what's happened through 2 games, where they've contributed, and especially in the power play. And the second goal of the first game was a beautiful pass by Matthews to Marner. Marner scores. Right. Like, that's world-class talent in the net, 2-0. The rest is history. But these 2 guys are killing penalties almost 4 minutes the other night. In penalty kill minutes.
They lead the charge. It's not Camp, it's Matthews.
They come over the boards.
Right.
And they're the ones up against the Stützle line. I got to think Green's going to try to get away from that tonight. Certainly try to get away from McCabe and Tanev as much as he can. And I'm sure he'll find opportunities to do that. But I look at the way those guys played in the second and third was not sexy, but also was not cheating, was not trying to do any dipsy doodles and, headbutts in the neutral zone to try to move pucks. That to me is really significant because these guys have done it all offensively. They've done it all during regular seasons. Now Mitch has hit his 100 points. Austin's won his Hearts, his Rockets. Just do whatever you have to do to contribute to a win.
That's might be the biggest key that you've ever. It's like there's nothing sexy about winning.
Exactly.
There's the famous story of Wayne Gretzky walking by the New York Islanders dressing room, and he thought they'd be hooting and hollering, and drinking beers and cheering. And he said he walked. Gretz said this, not me, but he walked by and they all had ice bags on them, and they looked dead, and they were sore, and they were fatigued.
They paid a price.
They paid a price. It wasn't what he thought, and that clicked in his mind maybe, and that got transferred to his teammates, and it's got to be different.
Exactly, and there has been some conversation within the market about having Matthews and Marner kill that many penalties. I have no issue with it, and I think that you got to continue to do it because killing penalties is so significant in the playoffs.
Yep.
And if you trust those 2 guys to get the job done, you trust them to win a draw or be in the right position. I don't need 5-on-5 minutes. Like, you're going to get those anyway, but I'm not taking them out of that position because that to me shows leadership. It shows an importance to detail. And I think it's important that they continue to kill the way they've been killing. I don't need minutes taken away from them.
The other
in
thing,
that situation.
too, it keeps them in the rotation.
Yes.
So, Gio was here the other day talking about Stützle and Tkachuk don't kill penalties. So you run into some penalty trouble, like you're cold on the bench. These guys are in the rotation. And it's also, Chiefs been playing 3-4 lines, so you're not having to run those guys 24, 26 minutes. So you're finding them the minutes. I should have checked, but what did they play? What did they play last game? Marner and Matthews, or what on average have they played in the first 2 games? I don't think it's 23 minutes.
It hasn't been crazy. Now, the first game allowed them to do that because it was a blowout.
A little bit more power.
Get to the third period, you're rolling lines.
Yeah, so last game would be more indicative.
Yes.
But I would be shocked because there was a time on the panel, I was sitting beside you and Johnny, and they said, look at the defense, how it's split up. At one point, everybody was like at 12 minutes, all 6 guys. You're like, okay, that's how it's been going. Up front, you have to just find that rhythm, and you throw top players out there to kill penalties, not just to keep them fresh, but they are a threat, too. They're good defensively. They're a threat. So, that's why you can give them that ice time, but if it's you're not running them 24 to 26 minutes, they're still getting their 21, 22
Right, exactly.
minutes.
And they're tougher minutes, but they should be. Those
Right.
are the leaders. Those are the best players. They're the highest paid guys.
Yeah.
And it's not about sneaking in 5-on-5 shifts or stuff
No.
like that. It's we got to use you when we need you to help us win.
Yeah.
And I like that messaging, and I like the consistency in terms of the way Berube is utilizing those guys, and I would anticipate that continues tonight. So we got a bunch of games in the NHL this evening. We got obviously Game 2 in Battle of Florida, Game 3 Battle of Ontario. You got Golden Knights in Minnesota and Winnipeg and St. Louis tonight. And to chat about it, we're joined now by Hockey Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup champ, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. There he is, Chris Pronger. What's up, Prongs? Look at this guy.
How's Team Overdrive?
Oh, we're doing very well.
Loving life like we do every day, Prongs. Loving life.
As only you can.
Absolutely. And we were just talking about Matthews and Marner killing penalties, the amount of minutes they're getting shorthanded, and how that's actually been a change. Like prior to Berube showing up, Matthews never used to kill penalties. Marner always did. But it's been a bit of a discussion here, the idea that maybe you save them for 5-on-5 minutes. Maybe you get them off the PK. I like this messaging, and I like that they're placing importance on the specialty teams because they've been winning those battles. Where do you stand on your best forwards in particular killing penalties?
It's not only your best forwards, it's your smartest forwards. They know what they're trying to do, the systems that they're trying to do on, and the schemes that they're running on the power play. Therefore, they understand them on the penalty kill. They know the lanes to take away. You know, you look at Steve Yzerman and the years leading up to their success. Who was killing penalties? Who was diving in front of an Al McGinnis slap shot? It's Steve Yzerman. And I think what Chief's trying to do is create that identity within this group that you're watching your star players sacrifice their bodies, jumping in front of shots, doing what they need, and are willing to do to be successful. And that sets a tone and the tempo for everybody else.
Did you feel that obligation yourself as, captain, superstar? Like, if I'm not going to do it, how can we expect everyone else to do it? Where did you stand on that?
I love blocking shots. Look who my buddy was.
He had to. He was terrified.
Damn, I can't let this go on net.
No, you know what, I think just understanding, keeping them involved in the game, especially if there's 1, 2, 3 penalties in a row. If you don't kill penalties, you're sitting there for a long time. You lose the flow of the game. You get a little cold. If you're involved, you're digging deeper into the bench as well. And I heard you talking prior to me coming on about getting equal number of minutes to everybody and things of that nature. Yes, you want to save your star players for key times, but who's to say that those penalty kills aren't the key moments in the game to stop a goal and as Noodles alluded to, be a threat and force the power play to play a little defense when you do get turnovers and stops and you're able to go the other way. Because you have those dynamic offensive weapons out there, they're able to create and ultimately try to score some goals too.
Prongs, if you're the Ottawa Senators now going home, you're down 2-0, but it's your building. You feel like, okay, What do we need to do? So what have you seen from the Sens side, or if you're in their shoes, what do you need to do to feel like, okay, we can get back in the series and make it a series on home ice?
Game 1, while it looked like a blowout, in my opinion, was a little bit closer of a game than the actual score. Game 2, obviously overtime, could have went either way. Ottawa had some chances too. Ultimately, Toronto found a way to win. I think going home, they have to understand they can't start looking big picture. They got to really simplify it, keep it simple, and worry about that first period, worry about the second period. But in order to be successful, they have to get traffic and they have to get to the middle of the ice. Toronto's back end has done a really good job of clearing the front of the net for the most part and allowing Stolarz to see. If he sees the shot, as you know, at this level, you should stop the puck. And I think Toronto versus Ottawa, Toronto's been able to really get some grade A chances, really able to get inside the hash. When you're coming from outside the hash marks, you really only have one area to shoot the puck. And so if you're Ottawa, you're trying to get the first goal. You're trying to play with the lead for a change, trying to play from the front. And if you're able to do that, use that as momentum for the crowd and build with each successive shift. Get that wave after wave mentality, get on the forecheck, start crashing and banging, and just kind of let that momentum kind of fall off the cliff, if you will, and just start kind of rolling, get that snowball rolling down the hill.
With Chris Pronger, we referenced that 07 Cup final last segment, Game 3, when you were on Anaheim. You guys went in there, you're up 2-0. So obviously much more amplified Cup final compared to the first round. But you've been in the skates of the Leafs going into a scenario like this. So take us through what you think the messaging would be from Berube and company going into a scenario where you can really lay the hammer on Ottawa tonight.
Well, I think they're going to try to keep it simple. They're going to force Ottawa to make the mistakes, whether it's the undisciplined penalties, turnovers at blue lines, errant passes in the middle of the ice, things of that nature, and get on the attack, get on the transition game, and really create those odd man rushes that they've been able to capitalize on here thus far in the series.
Prongs, how much trouble do you think the Edmonton Oilers are in right now?
Ooh.
Does that mean a lot?
They are in a world of hurt right now. Both games, albeit the first one, they mounted an epic comeback, and that could have been an all-world come-from-behind win. Mm-hmm. Instead, it was a painful loss, and last night's game, wow, they looked really slow. Outside of Connor McDavid, a couple other players, Draisaitl was doing his best.
Some real amateur hours mistakes in their own zone, Prongs, like awful.
The turnovers have been egregious. They're not getting the stops when they need it, and it's everything is just biting them. And LA, who have been on fire the last 15, 20 games of the regular season, are capitalizing on every single mistake. It seems like Skinner has not really come up with very many big stops when they've needed it, as Noodles can attest.
Yeah,
it's not how many you make; it's when you make them. And in key critical situations, he's just not coming up with a stop. Albeit they are making massive mistakes that are causing a lot of the problems. And then outside of that, how they're defending,
their penalty kill.
Giving up the middle of the ice. The penalty kill looks lost out there. They're not playing. The penalties they're taking are undisciplined. Henrique's penalty was not smart, and then they're not very physical. We have a laundry list of issues that they need to correct in order to get back into this series. First and foremost, they got to play with the lead and force LA to get out of their systems and really kind of get them off kilter, because as of right now, Edmonton is playing right into their hands. And look how spread out they are. They're jumping around, trying to force, but they're coming out of position. And I mean, this is unfortunate bounce right back on Kuzmenko's stick. But, when you look at Edmonton's power play versus LA's power play, night and day the way they're moving it around the zone and spreading out the PK and creating seam passes and point shots and things of that nature.
Chris, what do you make of the 5-forward power play? Because LA's doing it, had tremendous success. The Leafs are doing it, tremendous success. Is there something to it? Is there something to having just 5 forwards out there with creativity?
And brains?
Well, brains, all of that stuff. No, I was going to let that go. But I mean, we are seeing, a little bit different thought process, because
one of the things I notice here, you look at Kopitar he's on his strong side, but technically on the power play, that's his off wing.
Right.
He's not in a one-time position. And what that allows him to do, the angle that he gets when he can move back and forth with Kuzmenko going behind the net that we saw in game 1, that play, they move it back to Kopitar, he moves it up top, they move it across to Kempe, and then they move it across to Fiala, up top to Kempe, down low to Kopitar. They're able to move it around, but they can move it around on an angle with which the penalty killer really has to go outside of the lane to try to get there with their sticks. And it makes the box move a little bit too much, and then he can come inside to a one-timer. He can go across the seam to a one-timer. They've got a lot of options, and Newell Brown's their power play guy who I had in Anaheim, and Newell's very forward-thinking. Vancouver had the number one power play a few years ago. Phoenix had a good power play when he was there. He's really smart at utilizing the weapons that he has. And I'm sure they talked when they picked up Kuzmenko. That was probably one of the biggest reasons they picked up that specific player was for their power play to get a right-handed shot and kind of utilize the skill and the assets of those players.
With Chris Pronger ahead of a bunch of games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight, the Habs are down 2-0 going back to Montreal. And last night, Patrik Laine did not play a shift in the third period. How would you anticipate Marty St. Louis handles him going into Game 3? Like, I'm presuming he's going to play, but what is the messaging and what can you expect? Because that's a guy who's been around for a long time. He's getting paid money. But not seeing a shift in the third, man.
He always seems to end up in a position where the coach has got to make a call on, do I put a sweater on him or not?
Absolutely.
Well, and at the end of the day, you're asking the player to step up, be accountable, be a leader, be a presence. You talk about his contract, you talk about what he can provide from an offensive production standpoint. His game has not been great. Game 1 was soft.
Yep. And
Game 2, he had a couple chances, fanned on a couple chances on the power play, but he's purely a power play specialist. He doesn't create much in 5-on-5 play. Soft at the red line, getting pucks deep. He's made a lot of mistakes that have cost them, and you just want a little more oomph in his game, a little more sandpaper, a little more grit. He doesn't need to be out there running guys over and whatnot. But he needs a little more pep in his step. He's got a long, powerful stride that can look lackadaisical at times, which I think can aggravate fans and aggravate people that don't really know how he moves out there. He's actually a pretty decent skater. He's just got that long, loping stride. But you just want him to get more engaged and more involved and really kind of assert himself in the series and get to the dirtier part. If you're not scoring goals, get to the front of the net. You got the hands, you have the skill. Look for a dirty one.
And he's got the size. But, Prongs, I was mentioning before you came on in the 4 o'clock hour, on the road it's a lot tougher because you've heard this saying, you got to hide players. So Marty's like, I can't put him out there because it might be a mismatch. On home ice, you might be able to find maybe an extra shift or an extra look for him in an offensive zone because you have that last change, you have that last opportunity. Is that something that Marty might have to think about?
Much easier. I think, if you're thinking about the power play, you certainly don't want to sit him. He's been a key focal point for them on that first power play unit. At the end of the day, he's got to look at his lineup and go, who's going to give us the best chance? Who's going to sacrifice their body to get the puck out at the blue line or get the puck in at the red line or the offensive zone? Who's going to make the smart play? Who's not going to make an area pass through traffic when you don't have to? Who's going to just chip it up the wall and play safe and look at the matchups and who you're out there against? Or the hockey IQ and the hockey sense that comes into play at this time of year is very critical and very important. And having guys that understand that instead of just throwing caution to the wind every single time they're on the ice with the hopes of scoring a goal, sometimes can be more of a detriment than a positive for a team.
Is there a bigger indictment on a player when the term "we got to try to find a way to hide him" comes out of a coach's mouth? Like, it just makes me sick saying it. Like, if I was ever in a back room and I heard a coach saying that about me, I think I would pass out and throw up. Like, it's disgusting. We've got to hide this guy. It is tough, man. It's tough.
And not when you're relying on a player too. Of his caliber and his stature in the league, you're counting on him. You have a very young team. You're counting on him to step up in this pressure-packed moment.
Yeah.
And be a leader. And unfortunately, when you do hear that comment, you're like, you kind of cringe and you.
Yeah, it's so cringeworthy, man. Hide that guy.
Yeah, that is tough, man. Yeah. It's a tough reputation to have. I've been hidden in the NHL.
Yeah.
Coaches have hidden me before.
I can only throw you out there if there's 2 guys from the AHL that have been called up. I can possibly toss
Right.
you out.
I had a
Off
buddy.
an icing.
I had a buddy. I won't tell you who it was, but when it would go to 3-on-3 overtime, he was a defenseman, and the coach would just go down to the look at the defensive coach and go, just the no.
Not that guy.
That guy, no.
Yeah.
Basically, and he knew he was done. That was it. He would just go, that guy, no.
No more.
That's it. He's done. His night is done because I don't want him on the ice in 3-on-3.
Yeah.
And he was like, God, it was tough because he goes, I would see him
In the
actually
peripheral, you could see
point to me and go, that guy, no chance. You can't be on the ice.
I would take it to the next level if I was a coach and just tap him and say, hit the showers.
Yeah. Just take your skates off. Go sit with a
You
backup.
can untie your skates now.
Yeah, you're not playing anymore.
Yeah, that's tough.
Well, we were talking about, I don't know if you saw the video of Mark Savard in game 1 where he was going nuts. Savard was going nuts.
Did, yes.
Yeah, and Berube looked at him and basically said, Are you crazy? We're 10 minutes into game 1 here. Settle down. How did you what were you expecting out of your coaches, behind the bench? I guess head coach, assistant coaches, what during playoff runs in particular?
Yeah. I think you have to act as if you've been there before. And game 1 of the first round, probably, you want to get off to a good start, but as a assistant coach, you may want to keep the tone down a little bit and not get too fired up. Let the players enjoy the moment. Start thinking about what's next. And I think as Chief knows, it's a long, hard grind, and it's going to take everybody understanding what the process is going to look like, how we need to get there. They're going to encounter some adversity, whether it's tonight in Ottawa or further down the line, and they're going to need the calming influence of moments where, yes, the highs and the lows have to be here in the middle, and it just needs to be a little ripple. And it starts with the coaching staff, as we know. They set the tone and tenor for the players. There's countless times where you always come out of the locker room and you have those meetings where the coach is telling the players to, hey, stay off the ref, let me deal with it. And within the first second, if there's an offside call, they're screaming and yelling at the officials and the linesmen, and chaos ensues on the bench. But he's a very calming influence back there, and he's very he tries to stay. You don't see him yelling at the refs much. You see him talking. As an assistant coach, he was the exact same way. Pretty quiet, reserved back there. When he spoke, you were paying attention and listening, and I know he's that same way as a head coach.
Prongs, you should hear O's got a story about Pat Quinn.
About yelling at the refs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a big meeting with us, and he was like, guys, you got to stop yelling at the refs. It's getting out of hand. He didn't like this is the opening face-off. He didn't like the way the ref dropped the puck, and he goes, you're a coward! He didn't wait 3 seconds. He just yelled at the top of his lungs, damn it, you're a coward! And I was thinking to myself, because I didn't know, I was new to the team, and I'm like, is this guy for real?
Gotta tone it down.
He just gave us a discipline. Don't yell at the refs. He goes, we all got to settle it down, tone it down. Half of a second, he went nuts.
Danny O'Halloran.
Yeah.
Bad puck drop.
Yeah. O'Halloran, you're a coward.
Yeah. Could be like Jimmy Roberts, who would just be spitting sunflower seeds all over everybody's back.
Oh, really?
So the guys would come off the bench, they'd have sunflower seeds all over their nameplate.
Dude, I wouldn't have any time for that, man.
That would be trouble, man.
Well, he just...
God forbid somebody was in the penalty box. If I was in the penalty box, he'd be like, Al, you're up, and somebody, and then he'd go, Pronger!
Get Pronger out there. He's
always
too.
Prongs, Al. Prongs in the penalty box. Prongs and Mule, or Al and Mule, you're up. He was just he was a beauty back there. I think it was pretty funny though.
The
But
old school coaches, man.
sunflower seeds.
Ricky Lee.
Yeah. Sunflower seeds everywhere. Prongs, you knew Ricky Lee.
Brian Tom, you're up.
Yeah, just go play the hits, man. It's like a top 40 station
Honest to
back
God,
there.
like-
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Play the hits.
There was no spreading out the minutes back then.
No, just get the big boys out and let's see how it happens. See what happens here. All right, Prongs, great catching up with you, buddy. Good seeing you. Enjoy the
My
games
pleasure.
tonight. We'll do it again soon.
You bet. Yeah, good luck to you guys.
got
Enjoy,
it.
have fun.
We will. There he is, Chris Pronger, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4 gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. And Chris would have had Berube when he was in Philly, I guess. So
Yeah, long history.
and obviously Berube played in the league for a long time when Prongs was in the league.
There's not, you know,
Like
guy like
Berube's
that
a
who-
lifer, man. He's been in the league
Yes.
for 40 years.
Like it's
Crazy.
weird. You look at that Leafs coaching staff. I played with all three of them: Mike Van Ryn in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
Mark Savard in Calgary, and Chief in Calgary. But like I've known them for years.
Yeah.
It's weird to look at them. They look different now. We all look older and heavier. And
Oh,
all of that
everyone's
type
got
of
a
stuff.
little bit more heat on them,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
But
Dude, I'll tell you what, I had a great comparison for you. Like, Boston Pizza had to go there, and they posted the Brad Pitt pic. You
They
know the
did.
one.
Oh,
They-
me on the court side.
yeah,
of the route.
that is
Steel,
your
the blue
Brad Pitt.
steel, yeah.
That's your Brad Pitt moment. You look You look like a model.
Wow.
And then another guy posted the pic with your colorful striped shirt on,
moose.
and you had your hand like this, and you were just yelling. It was the first day of TSN radio.
Yeah.
yeah,
Dude, the comparison of those two pics,
It's
that's
crazy,
AI.
man.
Yeah, that's AI.
It honestly
It
looks
is.
like it's
It-
AI. It's
it's like
artificial
typing into
intelligence.
AI, make this buffoon look like a model.
I know, because I've seen other pics come in. Like, it's the beauty of social media. They're like, good pic. We're going to drag you right back to reality here.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the day one pic. I went in for a photo shoot with
Is that
a
the one with
shirt
the
on
black-
shirt. It's the
The
worst.
black shirt.
Yes.
And it's
I didn't
like
see this
you're
one.
just
Oh, yeah.
your neck is going.
I'll never forget the face of Renee. She used to work here. She used to run the PR.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, Renee Rouse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Renee Rouse.
unbelievable woman, great colleague of ours. And she set this up. She's like, I need you to come down.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in and she's like, are you wearing that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
And she's like, okay, I guess we're ready. Like, she assumed I was just
But
there
dude,
and that I was going to have to go for a change.
You have to know that if someone says, "Are you wearing that?" You got to go with something.
She's
I know.
horrified.
She was
She's
horrified.
Is it the black? Is it?
Yeah, it was black on
I
black.
don't
But that
remember
was
this.
when I
Joe,
was
put
at
it
my
up if it's
top.
around.
I was at the worst of the worst.
You look like a
of this photo shoot.
WWE wrestler, like some
I
kind
heel.
of yeah.
I look like part of a tag team.
I haven't seen this picture.
Oh, you seen
Dude,
it? It's
this guy.
brutal. It's the worst picture
I-
ever taken of me.
I
He
think
kicks
the picture-
ass and takes names. This guy.
I'm a jobber. There it is. This is the pic right
Yeah,
Yeah,
here.
that's it. We're-
I had no shave. It was one of the. It's the worst picture.
Look at it. Look at it. You want to screw around? Come over here.
yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta have like quote clips on top
I
of
walked
that. Like,
in. We were down on Queen Street.
Dude, I want
and
that
Renee
guy.
said,
I want that guy to get in a minivan and drive to Ottawa and give the Leafs a pregame speech.
I
and
need-
get them fired up.
I
Yeah.
need to channel that guy again.
that-
I'm going
you
to.
look
starting
angry
tonight.
in that.
It was the
so
weirdest
angry.
photo shoot ever. It was down on Queen, and I walk in, and Renee goes, "Okay, you ready? You were going to wear that?" Like
Yeah.
it was like that, one of those. And I was,
Dude, when
never
someone
seen that
says, "Are you going to wear that?" That is the biggest red flag ever. That means you got to go back home and
I
come back.
should have rescheduled right then and said, "Actually, I forgot. I was here for courtesy
But
purposes."
when you do the Jay
what a
show,
pick.
Yeah.
the Jay show has you in this skinny little like you.
Yeah, I know.
You look like you're part of the. There was a band called the Stray Cats. Brian Setzer, like
Right.
You kind of have this weird.
I don't.
like,
I've
big
said
hair
that.
and,
Like the stuff they use for me and Jay. I don't think that's my pic. I don't think it's my body.
No, it's-
and I don't think it's my hair.
yeah, I
'Cause
think they put like a different hairdo on top
Yeah.
of you because you've got
That's
the
the way you
coif on
should do
top.
your hair. Your hair looks good in that pic.
I know it's
Yeah, but
not
that-
mine. That's the
we
point.
got to find that Jay show picture because every time I see it, it's a little bit off-putting. Like
That's not
Dude,
it.
that guy, that is you. That's your tie.
no, but they
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
me.
Yeah.
but
but they thin it out. It looks like they show the body.
It looks
like
better, and Jay's stuff. It's black and white too, which helps.
Well,
And
if
Dude,
you ever
that
seen what I
black
do.
shirt pic to that pic right there,
It's
that
wild.
It's
man.
night and day.
it's AI.
That's AI.
Yeah, I know.
When I
That's
go on-
catfishing.
When I go on the show,
It's catfishing.
Yeah, Manti Te'o.
If I if I was single, I would post the latter pic, and if I
Yes.
showed up with the black on black, the woman would say,
Yeah.
"I'm not doing this."
You've been catfish.
Dude,
Yes, you catfish me.
Dude, she wouldn't dial Uber. She'd call 911.
She would have me arrested. She would say, "I need this guy tracked." RCMP.
Yeah. You know that bastard you were looking for downtown with the black shirt on? I found him.
There's some guy walking around setting up dates,
Yeah.
and he's bothering people, and he needs to be traced.
Yeah, they
They
honestly,
would have a tracer on me.
yeah,
There's no question.
They literally, like with the Jay show, they had me
It's
on
a great
there.
looking
They do
pic,
that
man.
tasteful nudes or whatever when I'm on.
Yeah.
They put like a see-through shirt with like a muscle guy on it. It's not me.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
know.
awkward when it comes up. It's just a weird, like,
guys
I
with
love
black shirt.
I love how they operate.
I love
there.
them, but
love
it
Jay's
messes
show.
with your mind when you're
I know.
like sitting there going, "That's not me."
I know.
And then they go, "Hey, let's go to Noodles," and you're like,
and then they pan to you,
Yeah,
and you're
you're
just like
sitting there.
you look exactly
Nothing like
It's
that.
the end of the night. You're exhausted. I hear you, man.
I love
Anyway, yeah. Listen, we're all grown up now. Everyone's
I've
looking
never
good.
seen
Everyone's
that
feeling
picture
good.
before in my life.
Well, I
black on
would
black.
prefer if it was burned forever,
That is
because there's
something
not
else.
much you can do about it now. It's out there, and it's because we had the Boston Pizza people were in here to talk about the wing eating. Because you look great in the wing, and you had just kind of retired. You still had your A game.
When Andrea Perone was in here.
Yeah, remember Andrea? We subjected Andrea to having
Did
to
you
eat wings.
some of
and,
that or no?
Dude, it was the worst couple. I had a bad couple hours because I have zero spice tolerance, and I thought I'd be a hero.
Yeah.
And I rubbed my eye with, and there was
that's
sauce on
nightmare.
my hand.
Yeah, you're done.
Dude, my eyeball felt like it was going to blow out of my sock.
That's right. That's right.
We used to have weird props.
Look at that. There's my pick on
Yeah,
Jake.
see, that's
That's
one
the
I'm like,
greatest pick of me ever created.
Dude, that would be on that would be my profile pic on anything.
You're
that's-
right.
that's
But that's
the one
not
I'm
me,
talking
though.
about.
Like, it is me, but it's not me.
But they
Dude,
did
I don't
something.
care. I would make that my profile pic on every social
Okay, I
media
will.
website.
Like, that's smoky, man.
Dude,
That's
is-
a
But you
vibe.
look like a singer in the 70s or 80s.
right.
Like that's a
But
That
with
guy in the
Cap.
black shirt, that's a pig farmer from Wisconsin who does arm wrestling contests.
You're right.
He's
Yeah.
a
You're
monster.
right. He's
bar
going to be at the
fighter.
draft tonight.
He's a
in
bar
Green Bay.
fighter, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be causing problems at the draft tonight.
I want a Laramie
All right.
Tunsil.
Okay, we'll
We
come back
need
and
something.
discuss that. What could we see at the NFL draft tonight?
Yeah.
Catch you on the panel tonight. Leafs Sens Game 3. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, don't forget, TSN 1050 giving away tickets to every Leaf playoff home game, and all you have to do is listen to us on the iHeartRadio app for your chance to win them. To enter, download the iHeartRadio app, create an account, and listen to TSN 1050 for at least 15 minutes straight. You can enter twice per day, so listen to First Up between 6 and 10 a.m. and Overdrive between 4 and 7 p.m. The more times you listen, the better your chances of winning. Before each home game, First Up will be calling one devoted fan with a pair of tickets. Full details at tsn1050.ca. I'm so disappointed that the NFL draft is tonight because it's going up against the Leaf game.
Right.
And I'll be watching the Leaf game, but I'll have one eye on the draft. And this is a big night for, I think, order in Boston Pizza and make sure you get the laptop cooking, maybe the iPad, the iPhone, make
Multiple
sure you got
screens.
the TV. Massive multiple screen night because you don't want to miss
Right.
a Laramie Tunsil moment tonight. You don't want to miss a guy with his two phones and the girlfriend tries to grab one and then he goes like the ninja grab
That is
to bring
all
it
we're
back.
seeing. Who was that?
That was CeeDee Lamb, I believe.
That's right.
He had the two phones and the bat line was sitting there and she grabbed it and he
He almost broke her wrist grabbing it.
his hand extended so quickly. That's why he's a superstar, because he's got instincts like that. Like, I knew that second, I'm like, CeeDee Lamb's going to be an all-time great wide receiver.
Yeah.
And he is.
And he's not with that girl anymore, I guarantee.
I would assume, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably true,
Right.
what you just stated there.
Young guy.
But the draft, like, remember, it was always at Radio Music City, or Radio City Music Hall.
Yep, in New York.
In New York. And it was very tailored to the New York market. You knew when the Giants were on the clock, the Jets were on the clock. There wasn't a lot of room for fandom. Every fan base might have been represented with a few people
Right.
here or there. They've been taking it on the road now for a while, and I think they've hit a grand slam.
Absolutely. The fan base, like, I remember it was in Philly not that long
Yes.
ago. It was just
Incredible.
insane. Yeah.
Like 250,000 people there for the draft.
they make such a big
an
show
event.
out of it. Exactly. It's an event.
Yes.
I love it. Do you remember, like, we had material for weeks, that Laramie Tunsil.
We'll never see anything
But
like that ever
that's what I'm
again.
saying. We're never going to see anything that ridiculous because it was the video. Then there was some text released about
Yes.
him asking for money.
When he was at Ole Miss,
Yeah.
they were outing him, even though he had left the school,
Yeah.
so it hadn't mattered.
It was a hit piece on him.
Yeah, it really was.
And he dropped, wasn't he supposed to be third and dropped to like 15
There
or
was
something?
chatter that he might go first overall. Like he was
Right.
the best offensive tackle in the draft,
Yeah.
and he dropped down to 11th or
Yeah,
something
Miami
like that.
took him at 11.
Yeah, but you're right. He was certainly good. He was 100% a top 5 talent.
Oh.
And to his credit, there it is. Like it's just
Remember
look
how
how
happy
happy
he is?
this guy is getting out of that mask. And to his credit, he's had a great career. Like he's in Houston now, and he's made a fortune, and he does a great job protecting quarterbacks. He's still playing left tackle in the NFL. So it did not derail his career.
No, but that was a speed bump. Like that was a bump.
That was really strange, man, because it was, what was that, was that a decade ago now? Maybe not that long ago. 7 or 8 years anyway. And it was a different era. Like now, even like marijuana and the way people approach it now is very different. It's legalized in a lot of different places. But back then it was, 2016, almost 10 years ago.
It's just so different. You're right. Like life is different. But that was like the internet was really getting, like this is,
Twitter was cooking back then.
Exactly. Like nowadays, you'd be able to find out who leaked that. Like apparently, again, I didn't follow up on the story, and I shouldn't speak out of turn.
Stepdad,
but it wasn't a
something like
stepdad or something. Yeah,
who was bent out of shape.
Now you would be able to know exactly what's going on, how it unfolded, all of that. There would be multiple angles of him.
Absolutely.
With the whatever that was, some sort of gas mask on.
That was quite the contraption, man. You want to be in space like that.
That is an old school stoner that put that thing together and said, put this mask on.
Oh, you'll find the most creative people on earth. Stoners that want to find a way to really get stoned really quickly. They don't contribute anything else to society.
Yeah, but they can make a contraption out of an apple.
Give them 20 minutes, and they'll be like, I'll cook something up here. Just give me 20 minutes, Laramie. I'll make sure that...
They're MacGyver all of a sudden.
I'll send you to the moon and back very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the draft in Green Bay tonight, and it's a great event because the NFL, it's left us for a while, right? Like the Super Bowl happens mid-Feb, and then that's about it, and especially up here because we're focused on the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Raptors were coming down the stretch and the Blue Jays. And again, it's just a bummer that the Leafs are playing tonight. From my standpoint, I'm speaking selfishly,
right?
Because I will be watching the hockey game, but I love the NFL draft. It's such a great event, and it sounds like Cam Ward's going to go first, quarterback to Tennessee, and then at that point, the board opens up.
Yeah,
and we'll see what ends up happening.
You were saying the other day, like there's not as many blue chip right now. I mean, they can end up being stars, but there's not like a top 3 that teams have tanked for, been fighting over type.
No, and especially in generally speaking, like the tanking is it's for quarterback,
right?
Like that's what you would do it for is a quarterback. You're not going to. This Travis Hunter kid is an all-world talent out of Colorado, and the Abdul Carter's an edge rusher from Penn State. Very good players, great players, great talents. But you don't tank for a wide receiver,
right?
Or a cornerback. You tank for or a cornerback. You tank for a quarterback,
right?
And generally speaking, a draft is defined by the quarterbacks of the draft,
right?
And we'll see what Cam Ward becomes, Shedeur Sanders, and others. But you're right. There'll be someone that gets picked this weekend in the 6th round that will go to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
But as of right now, no one knows who it is, and he plays at Eastern Michigan, and no one's paying attention. And that guy will be the pick of the draft.
And we will go, how the hell?
How did he draft?
Years from now, people will go, why did that? Why was he available and this guy's a dud?
And you'll hear the reaction from the analysts, like Mel Kiper or someone will be like, don't like this pick.
Yeah.
Bad feet work, don't, blah, blah, and that guy will be in the Hall of Fame.
But Brady, too slow,
years.
awkward,
Absolutely.
like all of that.
Decent arm, he's good backup. I like that pick. Next thing you know, he's the greatest player to ever play the game.
That's what they were saying about Brady, right?
He went in the 6th round, yeah.
But like his scouting report was like awkward, can't run, not fast, not in great
athleticism
shape.
whatsoever.
No, isn't
None.
that crazy? Zero athleticism.
Yeah, which really never changed. Like it was an accurate assessment, but it speaks to how focused I think sports teams get into the combines, right? You see it with every sport. He didn't bench this. He ran a 40 here. I didn't love this. I didn't like the interview. Whatever it is. And there's different things you have to do to check guys on or off your list.
Right.
But really, it should be about the game tape.
Yeah.
Like it should be. Is that guy smart enough to play? And do you trust? In Brady's case, does he have a good arm? Yes. Is he smart? Yes. Okay. He's got a good chance.
Right.
No one saw this coming clearly. But it happens in every sport where you get overthinking it, and it's, well, I'm going to take this guy because, man, you see how he's built.
Right.
Okay, go watch the tape.
Yeah.
Guy can't play. You know what I'm saying? Like, go watch the tape. The guy can't play.
But that's what happens, though, and it happens in every sport, like you said, where a person could be a physical specimen, but they may not have the drivetrain, like the actual smarts or the instincts or whatever that you need to be elite. You've got the package. They always talk about the toolbox, but there's nothing in there to drive it, type of thing. You have all the tools, but no toolbox.
Right.
You see it in hockey. When I talk to scouts all the time, and I'll say, how is that guy not a 40 goal scorer? And they're like, can't think the game. Doesn't know where to go on the ice. Like, tunnel vision. And then you go, okay, that makes sense, because guy ends up, he's a habitual 20 goal scorer that you're like, that guy should score 40 in his sleep. Like, doesn't know where to go on the ice.
Yeah.
Or not good defensively, or can't, like, it's a lot of it comes with, and then conversely, I think of a guy like Sam Reinhart, who's not a burner, but he's so smart. He knows where to go. He scored a goal the other night against Tampa where he beat Hedman off the wall, but he was in a perfect position to receive a pass. He just redirected it in the net. And it was like, it's not about speed. It's not about winning that physical battle. It's about being exactly where to be so that he could receive that pass.
Yep.
It's just a perfect play. Like, it's the brain.
Exactly, and you're not going to see that in the weight room.
No, you can't.
You can't find that in an interview room.
Yeah.
You got to have it. You either have it or you don't have it. And over time, the cream of the crop, it's always going to rise.
I agree.
All right, Pierre LeBrun will join us. I believe Pierre was in Colorado for Game 3 last night. Yeah, he's been covering the whole series. And that was cool. Landeskog returning last night.
Amazing. And he didn't look out of place.
He looked physical, and he was skating, and that's the first one. He's running on adrenaline. I'm curious to see what it looks like now.
Yeah.
Beyond that.
Yeah,
exactly. Like if he plays well, though, he's going to move up the lineup. They're going to use him more, and just an incredible story to see him rejoin his team. First time, in over 1,000 days.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. So we'll catch up with Pierre on that and more still to come in about 20 minutes. And we're teeing up Game 3 of the Battle of Ontario. Leafs Sens tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Pierre LeBrun coming up in about 15 minutes. Leafs Sens tonight, Game 3. I am curious to see, what the crowd looks like tonight. I think if you're an Ottawa Senator fan, you've been waiting for this for a long time. And, listen, the Battle of Ontario, it's a cool night. It's you're going to see Leaf fans in there. It's going to be an electric building. I think I'm hoping for a great game.
Yeah, I hope so too.
The game a couple nights ago it turned out to be an event because it goes to overtime. Whenever you have an OT winner, it's a great game. Like
right.
It's a memorable moment. And Max Domi had that. Tyler Seguin had it last night. There's been OT winners here early into the playoffs that are obviously going to allow you to look back on it and say, okay, I remember that happening. I remember how it played out.
Right.
But I'd love to see just a barn burner tonight. Just a back and forth, lead changes, crazy game. Give me a 5-4, wild show.
I mean, I don't.
That's what I want.
I've got to be
not
honest,
waiting for it, but I want to see that.
I would openly admit this. Every time I think, that's for sure, this is going to happen, it's like not even close. I would have thought, I thought Colorado was going to win last night.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Edmonton was going to win last night just based on, hey, they got a little bit of a scare game 1. Hey, let's really hit the ground running game 2.
Nothing.
Exact opposite.
3-0 halfway through the game.
Yeah, and you're just, so I look at it, I thought Montreal was going to, and then I'm watching.
They had chances in the third again, man. Jake Evans hit the post, and Anderson.
Here's the thing, though. That game's not even close if Montembeault doesn't stand.
You're right.
Montembeault was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was.
So, Washington might just be too powerful right now.
Mm-hmm.
It might be a little bit overwhelming. But let's see what happens on the road in Montreal. You get some other changes. To me, there has to be adjustments from Montreal to find a way to get that lead. Now, they score first, but they give up 2 quick ones right away. And now you're chasing the game. So I look at some of the adjustments that need to be done throughout the league. I'm interested to see, okay, in my mind, here's what I'm thinking. Tampa has a response tonight.
Yes.
We haven't even talked about that series because
they've only played 1 game.
I know, but those are 2 heavy hitter teams that if the Leafs get through, that's waiting for you. Well, Tampa was out to lunch in game 1, and Florida was really good. I'm expecting Tampa to have a massive comeback tonight or a massive game. But if Florida spanks them again, you're like, okay, I didn't call that. Like
Yeah.
that's what not we, but that's what I'm thinking. Tampa has a response tonight in my mind.
Yeah, and if it stays consistent with what's happened so far, they won't.
Right. That's
You
what I
know?
mean. Like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
okay, then it'll be 2-0 Florida.
Which, if it does, I mean, that feels like curtains. Like, it feels like a must-win for Tampa tonight. I get
Well,
their
on home
championship
ice.
pedigree and all that. And there's been some weird moments in the past where teams have lost 2 at home and then gone on the road and won 2.
Yeah.
It can happen. But it's more about the opponent. Where you look at Florida, you allow them to gain that type of confidence.
Yeah.
And Bob looks good in net, and everyone's
getting,
healthy. And
Ekblad back.
back for game 3.
Yeah.
I would not feel good about that. It feels like a must-win for Tampa tonight.
Yeah.
I would expect. I mean, it goes without saying. You expect a much better effort.
Well,
a better start.
They were no good. Like no good in their own zone. Vasilevsky didn't play well. Their power play wasn't good. Kucherov didn't look sharp. Like they just the spine of their team just didn't have it that night.
Right.
So they need a response tonight. But that one, I mean, I'm horse-eyeing that one because I think those are two
Great game tonight.
Two great
That one
teams.
starts. Does it start early? Is that a 6:30
no, there's
start?
a 6:30.
It is a 6:30 start.
I thought that was your New Jersey and
No, they're
Carolina.
getting the New Jersey Carolina treatment tonight. The Battle of Ontario.
Okay.
Or Battle of Florida.
Yeah.
Because I guess down in the States you got 6:30 Panthers Lightning, 9 p.m. Golden Knights and Mini. You can't play them at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Central Time anymore.
I don't like. I'll be honest. The 7 p.m. start. Not loving it for this Toronto Ottawa. Selfishly,
Yeah, because we got to get home.
Coach.
I know. 7:30 the other day was perfect.
Perfect.
I told you it was perfect.
But
I was
7
in the
is,
building by
you know,
7:25.
I get rattled a little bit because now you're
I do too.
Russian and I want to be
I don't want to miss a thing.
exactly.
Don't want to miss a
the
thing.
way I see it.
All right. We'll continue to tee it up in the final hour. We've got Stu Johnston coming up, the new commissioner of the CFL. At 6:30, and Pierre LeBrun will join us, our best bets as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.